If you're someone who uses Twitter frequently, first of all, I'm sorry, second of all, follow me, and third of all, you might have seen that a lot of people are currently going to a park in Belgium called Plopsaland De Panne, a park with Ride to Happiness, Anubis, and Bumba. I also ended up going to this park on a 5-day long trip around Europe, including 3 parks in Belgium and 2 in the Netherlands. And as the only French speaker in the group, I was on communications duty. Merde. But for people who are looking to go and don't speak fluent French or Dutch, don't panic, there are plenty of people there who speak perfect English and it's really upstaging. But that's one of the reasons why so many people are making this trip. But why else are people going to Plopsaland? What's there? Is it worth the travel? And more importantly, should you go to Plopsaland De Panne? So first of all, what on earth is Plopsaland De Panne and why does it have such a silly name? Well, Plopsaland is the theme park division of Studio 100, a Belgian kids television network. A network that has a very popular kids TV program called Plop, which translates to Plop the Gnome, which sounds painful. Anyway, Studio 100 purchased a park called Melie Park in De Panne, Belgium, and then formed it into Plopsaland De Panne in April 2000. There are in fact 9 Plopsa branded parks in Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, Poland and Czechia, as well as 2 water parks and a few other minor attractions to go along with them. So enough plopping, and trust me, there's going to be a lot of plop jokes in this video. I am 12 at heart. Let's talk about some of the attractions at this park, and let's not ignore the obvious one, you know, the flagship ride, the one you're probably here for this video for. Of course I'm talking about #LikeMeCoaster. It's got a great layout, it's got brilliant theming, and of course I'm joking, it's Ride to Happiness. Ride to Happiness is a Mack Extreme spinner with 5 inversions that feel like 50. The ride has multiple launches, spinning trains, is partially over a lake, and has a Tomorrowland theme with a face in the station that my girlfriend says that she's leaving me for, so either it's really good or she's really dissatisfied. Ride to Happiness opened in 2021 with rave reviews from European enthusiasts, so in 2022 it soon caught wind in the British enthusiasts, and then the ride caught wind and ended up stalling on the top hat. Whoops. Anyway, Ride to Happiness is one of those difficult to describe rides. It's massively forceful in both positives and negatives, has this force chart, tries to send you to space on the top hat if you're on the front car, and because of the spinning you get a different sensation every single ride. I had nearly 20 rides on it and got a completely different experience every single time. I know that a lot of people are fearful about feeling disorientated or sick while on Ride to Happiness because of the spinning. However, I feel that if you're someone who struggles with rides where you can't see where you're going and that makes you disorientated, that might be a challenge for you on this ride. However, if you're just worried about the speed of the spinning or something like that, it has a controlled spin and heavy trains. It doesn't spin that much. I'd say that Spinball and Dragon's Fury spin more. I'd even say the Storm Chaser spins more. But that spinning element just gives a different feel to every ride. It's more just perspective changes than outright thrilling spin. The theming is excellent and really adds to the experience, and I just feel like this ride does what it says on the tin. I came off every single time feeling happier. If you're like me and you like roller coasters that kind of throw you around a little bit without being too rough, then this will be the perfect ride for you. It's my favourite in the world, without overhyping it, of course. Form your own opinions. Now, moving on to some other rides in the park, Anubis is a Gerstlauer launch coaster that has a launch that feels like you're being hit by a truck, and a theme that brings you back to the early 2010s. Oh my god, it's a House of Anubis theme. Who remembers that? This ride is criminally underrated. It's got one of the best first launches I've ever felt, and it's on a rolling launch. The rest of the layout is completely whippy and fast, and the first half of the layout just blitzes through. The only complaint I have about it is that the mid-course just hits a little bit too hard, which makes the second half of the layout a lot more sluggish than the first, but it still has some cool elements in there. Heidi the Ridey is, oh my, I actually said the thing. Heidi the Ride is a small-scale GCI wooden coaster that honestly feels a little too smooth. It's a really fun little layout, but the smoothness just makes it feel a little bit characterless for a wooden coaster. It kind of detracts from the experience a little bit. But again, this ride has a fun, fast-paced layout. It's got a super short train for some reason, and goats? goats. There's also Super Splash, which is a Mack water coaster, which for some reason isn't listed on RCDB, so if you follow that, then that's a +1 for you. Now, all of this sounds very good, right? But there's a thing that a lot of people kind of don't know about Plopsaland, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, it is just something to bring into your expectations. This is a family park that is breaking into the thrill market, but it's still a family park. Of course, you still have the thrill rides of Ride to Happiness and Anubis especially, but just bear in mind that the rest of this park is going to feel very small scale. Having said that, there are some really fun things to do in the rest of the park. There's a little farm with some goats that we definitely didn't nearly accidentally let out. There definitely wasn't nearly an outbreak of goats in Plopsaland on the day of our visit. We'd never do that. There's a really nice area with a super well-themed Zamperla disco and also a little duck ride that is next to something called the Plop restaurant, which I told you there'd be more Plop jokes. Finally, the actually important info about this park is how do you actually get there? From England, the easiest way is by far by car. From the southeast especially, it's really easy. All you have to do is get the ferry or the Eurotunnel over to Calais or Dunkirk and then drive the rest of the way. And from Calais, it's about a 40-minute drive. From Dunkirk, it's a longer ferry, but it's about a 20-minute drive on the other end. The ferries take about 2 hours depending on where you dock, or you can always just take the Eurotunnel to Calais. By public transport, I've heard it's a little bit more complicated. I think the best way of doing it is using Brussels as a base and then possibly also going to Wallaby, Belgium on the same trip, just to make it that little bit more worthwhile. However, there is a train station and a tram stop right outside of Plopsaland, including a tram stop in their car park, so it's not badly connected. You just have to get there first, and once you get there, it's very easy to get to the park afterwards. So considering all of that, should you go to Plopsaland De Panne? My answer is absolutely yes. It is a super fun park that is getting a lot of attention and hype right now, but for the right reasons. And now that Ride to Happiness is back on 2 trains, it should hopefully be a little bit easier to get as many re-rides as you want on it, especially on the busy days. Having said that, the ride doesn't have the best capacity, but you can catch it on quiet days, so just keep that in mind. The rest of the park is also lovely, however, do watch out for food and drink prices as they can be a little bit higher. I've heard that there's a thing where if you buy a plastic bottled drink in Plopsaland, it is way more expensive. However, if you return the plastic bottle to a shop afterwards, they will give you a little bit of money back, which is a nice little trick to just help recycle and be environmental and all of that. If you're worried about travel, have a look at possibly sharing a car with some friends and have a look at the ferry or the Eurotunnel. If you're worried about prices, there's plenty of offers online that I've seen. I believe that I got my tickets for 20% off. And of course, there's a thing that I've mentioned about the bottles so that you can get a little bit more money back within the park. And if you're worried about Ride to Happiness possibly making you sick and ruining your day, of course, I can't make a guarantee on that. That's going to have to be your own judgment. However, for me, it's not too disorientating. It's not as spinny as the Maras. It's more just a different perspective. However, if you do feel that you may be sick on it or anything like that, sometimes travel sickness pills can help, and you can pick them up from outside the local train station. There's a pharmacy out there. Okay, I think I've covered all bases, but I'm not entirely sure. So if you do have any other questions about the park, please feel free to put them in the Thames water truck that just went by. Okay, I think I've got all things covered, but I might be missing some things. So if you think of any questions that you have about Plopsaland or their passes or tickets or whatever, just leave it in the comments, or you can tweet me at Calvicus33 and I'll try my best to answer them to the best of my abilities. If you've been to the park, please do let me know in the comments and let me know your thoughts on some of the rides, especially Ride to Happiness. I'm really interested to see some other opinions on that ride. And if you found this video informative and helpful, then leaving a like on it would be the best way to tell me, and also subscribing while you're down there would really help me out. I've been making some more of these for some other parks in the future, but for now, I've been Cal, thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon.